Nothing seemed unusual until a Pizza Hut employee read a shocking message in an online order. What happened next would become a story of quick thinking, bravery, and a life-saving response. It was a typical afternoon at the bustling Pizza Hut in Avon Park, Florida. The small restaurant hummed with energy, the scent of freshly baked dough and sizzling pepperoni filling the air. The clattering of trays, the rhythmic beeping of the ovens, and the hum of casual conversations formed a soundtrack for the chaotic rush. Families gathered in booths, children laughing over shared slices, while others stood in line at the counter, eager for their orders. After-school teenagers debated toppings, and weary office workers tapped their feet, craving their dinner. The scene was ordinary, almost comforting in its predictability. Amid the controlled chaos stood Alania Hawk, a diligent pizza chef with a knack for noticing the tiniest details. Her hands moved quickly but precisely, tossing dough and layering toppings with an almost artistic flair. She thrived in the rush, her sharp eyes scanning the screen for orders. Not far away, Candy Hamilton, the season manager, kept the team running like a well-oiled machine. With nearly 3 decades of experience, Candy had seen it all: last-minute requests, complaints, even the occasional prank order. But nothing in her long career could have prepared her for the message that would soon appear on their screen. Miles away from the lively atmosphere of Pizza Hut, Cheryl Treadway's life told a different story. On the surface, she was a picture of resilience, a single mother raising her children with love and determination. Her days were spent balancing work, parenting, and a relentless pursuit of stability. To the outside world, Cheryl seemed strong and independent. But within the walls of her home, the cracks were undeniable. Her boyfriend, Ethan Nickerson, had once been charming and attentive, but the relationship had turned toxic. The signs had appeared subtly at first: a comment about her spending habits, a suggestion to distance herself from certain friends. Over time, the charm gave way to control. Ethan began monitoring Cheryl's every move, isolating her from friends and family. He kept a tight grip on her finances, making sure she relied entirely on him. His temper was unpredictable, often flaring over the smallest issues. Worse, he had started dabbling in drugs, and with each high came an alarming loss of control. Cheryl tried to shield her children from the worst of Ethan's behavior, but the tension in the house was palpable. She had thought about leaving countless times, but the fear of retaliation kept her rooted. That fateful morning began like any other, tense and uncertain. Cheryl tried to maintain a semblance of normalcy for her children, but Ethan was already in a foul mood. A minor disagreement quickly escalated into a shouting match. His anger was sharper, more erratic than usual, and Cheryl knew better than to push back. As the argument spiraled, Ethan grabbed a knife from the kitchen. His threats were chilling, his eyes wild. "You're not leaving," he growled. Cheryl's heart raced as she clutched her children, trying to shield them from his rage. Hours passed in a blur of fear and desperation. Ethan refused to let Cheryl or the children leave the house, keeping them under his watchful eye. At one point, the kids began crying, their small voices breaking through the oppressive silence. "They're hungry," Cheryl pleaded. Ethan hesitated, then tossed her his phone. "Order something," he muttered, his tone laced with suspicion. Cheryl's hands trembled as she opened the Pizza Hut app, her mind racing. This was her chance, a slim, almost impossible opportunity. As she selected a small pepperoni pizza, Cheryl noticed the special instructions box. Her fingers hovered over the screen, the weight of her decision pressing down on her. Would anyone notice? Would they believe her? Summoning every ounce of courage, Cheryl typed a message. "Please help. Get 911 to me. 911 hostage help." She hit submit and held her breath, her heart pounding in her chest. The fate of her and her children now rested in the hands of strangers at a pizza shop. Alania Hawk had seen thousands of online orders cross her screen over the years. Requests for extra cheese, no onions, gluten-free crusts. But this was different. Her eyes narrowed as she read the special instructions on the order from Cheryl Treadway. "Please help. Get 911 to me. 911 hostage help." At first, Alania froze. Could this be a prank? A mistyped request? Her gut told her otherwise. The urgency in those words, the repetition of 911, sent a chill down her spine. She reread it, her heart pounding against her ribs. "Candy," she called, her voice tight with uncertainty. Candy Hamilton, the season manager who had seen it all, wiped her hands on her apron and approached the screen with a raised brow. One glance at the message, and her expression darkened. This wasn't a joke. This was a desperate plea for help hidden in plain sight. Candy's instincts kicked in. Without hesitation, she reached for the phone and called their corporate office to verify Cheryl's usual order history. As expected, Cheryl had never made such a request before. The weight of the situation hit Candy hard. This wasn't a prank. Someone's life was in danger. "Call 911, Candy said firmly, her voice unwavering despite the fear in her eyes. Alania dialed with trembling fingers, her mind racing. Every second felt like an eternity as they waited for the dispatcher to pick up. 911. What's your emergency? Alania steadied her voice, relaying the chilling message she had received. The dispatcher's tone shifted immediately, professional yet urgent. Stay on the line, they instructed, and Alania could hear the urgency in the background. Papers shuffling, voices coordinating. The employees huddled in silence, eyes darting to the clock. The weight of the unknown pressed down on them. Had they just saved a life, or were they already too late? Lieutenant Curtis Luton of the Highlands County Sheriff's Office had been in his fair share of tense situations, but when the call from Pizza Hut came through, he knew this one was different. A hostage situation buried inside a pizza order? It was unlike anything he'd encountered before. Curtis immediately assembled his team, briefing them on the cryptic message. There was no time for doubt. Someone was in distress, and they needed to act fast. He quickly assessed the risks, the presence of a weapon, the number of potential hostages, and the volatility of the suspect. The SWAT team suited up, tactical vests strapped tight, and weapons checked. Every member knew that situations involving domestic disputes were some of the most unpredictable and the most dangerous. Let's move, Curtis commanded as they piled into their vehicles, sirens off to maintain the element of surprise. The drive to Cheryl's house felt endless. The tension in the car was thick, the silence only broken by the occasional crackle of the police radio. Curtis ran through possible scenarios in his head. Would Ethan come quietly, or would this turn into a violent standoff? As they neared the house, Curtis instructed his team to kill the lights. The unassuming suburban street lay eerily quiet, the house in question standing like any other, ordinary, unthreatening, and yet potentially harboring danger within. The officers took their positions strategically, surrounding the property without drawing attention. Curtis signaled for his negotiator to take point, the entire team on high alert. Inside, Cheryl sat frozen at the dining table, her children clinging to her side, their wide eyes darting anxiously to Ethan. She had no way of knowing if her silent plea had reached anyone, no way of knowing if help was even coming. And then, a soft knock at the door. Ethan's head snapped toward the sound. His grip tightened on the knife he'd been clutching for hours. Cheryl's breath caught in her throat. Who the hell is that? Ethan snarled, standing abruptly. Cheryl forced a calm facade, her voice trembling as she said, "Maybe it's just a delivery." But the second knock came, and this time, a firm voice followed. Highlands County Sheriff's Office. Ethan, we need to talk. The color drained from Cheryl's face. They came. Ethan's chest rose and fell rapidly. You called them, didn't you? He spat, his paranoia spiking. Cheryl shook her head frantically, playing innocent. I didn't, I swear. I just ordered pizza for the kids. Lieutenant Curtis spoke again, his voice steady but firm. Ethan, we just want to make sure everyone's okay. No one needs to get hurt. Ethan's breathing grew ragged. He yelled through the door, his voice laced with panic. I'm not going to jail. Inside, Cheryl gripped her children tightly, whispering reassurances even as fear clawed at her. Outside, Curtis exchanged a glance with his team. Ethan was on edge. One wrong move could escalate things quickly. He switched tactics, softening his tone. Listen, Ethan, I get it. You're scared. But we need to make sure the kids are safe. Let's talk, okay? Minutes ticked by like hours. Sweat beaded on Curtis' brow. Inside, Cheryl felt Ethan's tension wavering, his grip on the knife loosening slightly. "Ethan, let's end this the right way," Curtis continued, his voice steady as a rock. "You don't want to hurt anyone. Let's make this easy." Ethan's eyes darted between the door and Cheryl. His grip slackened. "I don't know, man," he muttered under his breath. Curtis seized the moment. "Just open the door. Let's talk face to face." A beat of silence. Then, the soft click of the lock. Ethan opened the door, his face twisted with fear and resignation. Officers moved in swiftly, securing him without incident. Cheryl and the children were quickly ushered out, sobbing but unharmed. Relief washed over everyone as Cheryl clutched her kids, whispering, "We're safe. We're safe now." Outside, Curtis exhaled deeply. Another crisis averted, another family saved. Back at Pizza Hut, Alania and Candy received the news. They exchanged a look of quiet relief. What had started as just another pizza order had turned into the most important one they'd ever handled. The moment Ethan opened the door, the atmosphere shifted from tense anticipation to swift, decisive action. Officers surged forward with precision, their movements rehearsed and calculated. Ethan, overwhelmed and exhausted, offered no resistance. His hands trembled as they were cuffed behind his back, his face drained of defiance. Inside, Cheryl's breath hitched in her throat as she saw the officers entering. Tears welled in her eyes as she clutched her children, their small bodies shaking against hers. For what felt like the first time in hours, maybe even months, she felt safe. Relief flooded through her in waves, but her legs remained frozen in place, as if fearing it was all a dream. A female officer knelt beside Cheryl, her voice soft but firm. "You're safe now. We've got you." Cheryl nodded shakily, unable to find words. The officer gently guided them outside, where the flashing red and blue lights illuminated the darkness of their once suffocating home. The children, wide-eyed and confused, clung tightly to their mother. Cheryl buried her face in their hair, whispering over and over, "It's over. We're okay." The paramedics moved in, offering warm blankets and bottles of water, their presence comforting yet surreal. Meanwhile, Ethan was led into a waiting squad car, his face a blank slate of resignation. His eyes flickered toward Cheryl once, but there was no spark left, only emptiness. As the car doors slammed shut, a chapter of fear and control was finally closing. Back at Pizza Hut, the tension had given way to quiet relief. Alania and Candy sat in the break room, listening to the dispatcher confirm that Cheryl and her children were safe. Alania let out a shaky breath, her hands still trembling from the adrenaline. Candy patted her shoulder, her eyes reflecting pride and quiet gratitude. They had made a difference today, perhaps saved lives with nothing more than quick thinking and a pizza order. Ethan Nickerson's arrest marked the beginning of his downfall. Within hours, charges were formally filed against him, painting a grim picture of the crimes he had committed. Aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Cheryl's statement about the knife he wielded in anger left no room for doubt. Kidnapping and false imprisonment. The court viewed his control over Cheryl and the children as a calculated act of intimidation. Drug possession and endangerment. Traces of illegal substances were found in the house, adding to the list of offenses. As news of Ethan's arrest spread, those who had once known him were left in shock. Friends from his past described him as a good guy gone bad, while neighbors whispered about the strange arguments they had overheard through thin walls. His family, though devastated, admitted that they had long feared his downward spiral would end this way. Meanwhile, Cheryl's fears of retaliation lingered. Though Ethan was behind bars, the scars he left weren't just physical. Prosecutors assured her that she would be safe and provided her with legal support to secure a restraining order. Cheryl sat in the police station, signing paperwork with trembling hands, feeling as if every signature was a small step toward reclaiming her life. Her children, still too young to fully comprehend the gravity of the situation, sat beside her, their eyes full of questions she wasn't ready to answer. One thing was clear: Ethan would no longer have control over their lives. Word of Cheryl's harrowing ordeal spread rapidly, first through local news and then across national outlets. The headline was enough to grab attention. A pizza order saved her life. Woman's silent plea leads to hostage rescue. People were captivated by the story of how a simple pepperoni pizza order became a cry for help, and how two Pizza Hut employees responded with courage and compassion. Social media exploded with praise for Alania Hawk and Candy Hamilton, hailing them as unsung heroes. Pizza Hut corporate headquarters took notice almost immediately. A regional manager visited the Avon Park location within days, presenting both women with commendations for their bravery. A company-wide initiative was launched, training employees to recognize subtle signs of distress in online orders and in-person visits. Alania, despite the attention, remained humble. "I just did what anyone would do," she said during a local interview. But deep down, she knew that paying attention to that small detail had made all the difference. The community rallied around Cheryl and her children, offering support in ways big and small. Donations poured in, groceries, toys, and even financial aid to help her relocate to a safer neighborhood. Local businesses pitched in, offering Cheryl a new job opportunity and counseling services to help her process the trauma. A local women's shelter reached out, providing Cheryl with a network of support she never knew existed. For the first time in a long time, she felt hope. In the weeks that followed, Cheryl worked tirelessly to rebuild her life. She found solace in therapy sessions, where she learned to process the fear and guilt she had carried for so long. Her children, slowly but surely, began to feel safe again, sleeping through the night without the lingering fear of Ethan's shadow looming over them. On a quiet afternoon, Cheryl returned to the same Pizza Hut that had saved her life. With tears in her eyes, she hugged Alania and Candy tightly, whispering, "You saved us." Candy smiled, her eyes misty with emotion. "You saved yourself, sweetheart. We just answered the call." As Cheryl walked away, a newfound sense of freedom filled her heart. She was no longer a victim. She was a survivor. And sometimes, survival starts with something as simple as ordering a pizza. In the face of danger, sometimes it's the smallest actions that make the biggest difference. The story of Cheryl Treadway serves as a testament to the power of vigilance and courage, reminding us all that being attentive and empathetic can save lives. The employees at Pizza Hut, Alania Hawk and Candy Hamilton, showed extraordinary presence of mind. By taking a moment to read between the lines of what could have been dismissed as an unusual pizza order, they became unsung heroes. Their ability to act decisively and without hesitation underscores the critical role frontline workers can play in emergencies. This story is not just about their bravery, but also about the importance of community. It is a reminder that no act of kindness or awareness is too small. Whether it's noticing a strange note or calling for help, we all have the power to intervene in ways that could save lives. For those working in service industries, this event highlights the importance of being vigilant and trusting one's instincts. Whether it's a cashier, delivery driver, or customer support agent, paying attention to subtle cues can be the difference between life and death. The ripple effects of Cheryl's story went far beyond the immediate rescue. It sparked conversations across the country about the silent epidemic of domestic violence and the ways communities can step up to help. Local organizations seized the opportunity to educate the public about recognizing and addressing signs of abuse. Campaigns were launched to teach people how to spot warning signals, both subtle and overt. From schools to workplaces, workshops and seminars aimed to arm individuals with knowledge and resources to help victims safely escape abusive relationships. Pizza Hut, inspired by the heroism of its employees, introduced a groundbreaking initiative aimed at improving community safety. Training programs were rolled out across the company to help employees recognize distress signals in orders or interactions with customers. The company also launched a public awareness campaign, emphasizing the potential of digital platforms to be lifelines in emergencies. Customers were educated on using the special instructions feature in apps or delivery platforms as a discreet way to seek help. By sharing Cheryl's story widely, Pizza Hut encouraged other businesses to adopt similar practices, fostering a culture of vigilance and care in the service industry. For Cheryl, the rescue marked the beginning of a long but hopeful journey toward recovery. The trauma of being held hostage and enduring months of control and fear left deep scars, but it also ignited a resolve to rebuild her life and protect her children. Cheryl found solace in the support of local organizations and counseling services. These resources not only helped her process the events she had endured, but also provided her with tools to move forward. Parenting classes and group therapy sessions offered her a community of survivors who understood her struggles and celebrated her resilience. With the help of community donations and outreach programs, Cheryl was able to relocate to a safer neighborhood. The financial and emotional support she received allowed her to start over, free from the shadow of Ethan Nickerson's control. Inspiring others through her story, Cheryl's courage became a beacon of hope for countless women in similar situations. By sharing her story publicly, she helped break the silence surrounding domestic violence. Her message was clear. Even in the darkest moments, there is hope. "Don't give up," she said in an interview. "Help is out there, even if it comes from unexpected places. You're stronger than you think, and there are people who care enough to fight for you." Cheryl's journey continues to inspire victims of abuse to seek help and communities to stay vigilant. This story challenges all of us to take a more active role in protecting those around us. Whether you're a neighbor, a coworker, or even a stranger, your actions could save someone's life. Recognize the signs. Be aware of subtle cues that might indicate someone is in trouble. Take action. Don't hesitate to report suspicious behavior or reach out to local authorities. Support survivors. Offer empathy, understanding, and resources to those recovering from trauma. The story of Cheryl Treadway is a powerful reminder that help can come from the unlikeliest of places. It's a call to each of us to remain vigilant, act with courage, and remember that even small gestures can have life-changing impacts. As Cheryl and her children continue their journey of healing, their story leaves a lasting legacy. It is a reminder that amidst fear and darkness, there is always a path to freedom and hope. Alania Hawk and Candy Hamilton's quick thinking didn't just save lives, it sparked a movement. Communities everywhere are now more aware, more compassionate, and more willing to act. In the end, the message is clear. Vigilance saves lives, courage changes futures, and kindness can light the way out of even the darkest situations.